Okay, if I die, all the stuff we just talked about, commission taking over my account, all the listings going away, you guys are kicked out on your own, you have to go find a new broker, can't do any new business, all that, right, we just talked about, will never happen in Indiana. Because Indiana forces brokers that want to hold other licenses to get a brokerage company. And now you're going to see some of the terms we talked about a minute ago come into play. So the reality is my company is Real Estate Monkey LLC, doing business as the Modulin Group. It is holding a company license. It is the managing broker. The company has named Raymond the responsible party. Remember that term from yesterday? I'm the responsible party for the corporation, which means I fill out the forms, do all the banking, I do all this. But if I walk out and get hit by a falling satellite, did the managing broker die? The answer is no, because it's a corporation. So all of the stuff we just talked about won't happen. Listings don't go away. You guys don't get cut loose. The commission doesn't come in. I have got a succession plan in my LLC agreement that states that one of my agents who is eligible will step up and become the new responsible party, and all you guys go, well, I'll go to Raymond's viewing, but I'm going to keep driving on. I've got 7 listings. I got to go. All right? So all this stuff we just talked about, while you'll need to know it, hint, hint, for the exam, specifically the 90-day one, they love that question. In the real world, that never happens because we have a corporation that holds a company license. That company license is truly the managing broker under the eyes of the law. Go ahead and ask it. I can see the question. I can see it in your eyes.
On the previous page.
On the what?
The previous page, our commissions would still go to you, that would go to your estate and everything like that.
Right.
Well, since the way you set up your particular business to be dispersed and be handled, we would still obviously split the commissions just like a contract.
Yeah, your commission's with the company.
Well, yeah.
Not me.
So it would.
Yeah.
What's your title then?
I am the responsible party that gets to act like the managing broker. I'm the one the state holds responsible for the activities of the company. But under the state eyes, the company is holding a license. So I carry Real Estate Monkey LLC has a real estate license. So does Raymond have a real estate license. And then my company has named me the responsible party for my company. So I get to act like and walk and talk and be the managing broker for my company. But the reality is if I die, Jen moves up and becomes the new responsible party. All of your independent contractor agreements are signed with Real Estate Monkey LLC.
But there are managing brokers out there that probably aren't as put together as you.
No, the state forces them to do that. When you go and try and get your managing broker's license, the state goes, okay, what's your company name? Well, I don't have one. Oh, then go right around the building to the Secretary of State, start a company, and come back. All right? So for a company license, which we're getting ready to talk about, I don't have to it doesn't go to school. It doesn't do CE. I have to pay for a company license. So every 3 years, I had to buy a new license for the Real Estate Monkey, and I had to buy Raymond's license. All right? So it's very transparent and really easy to complete, but they won't let you do it. All right? Now, I don't know about some other states. So letter Q, there must be a licensed managing broker residing in the state. Okay, let's go back. These are business entities that can hold a brokership because you've got a partnership, you've got an LLC, you've got corporations. All of those can hold real estate license, okay? So you could have a partnership that's formed. Remember partnerships? General limited partner. LLC is a very small version, limited liability company, and you also have the big corporation. All 3 of those are legal business entities which can hold a real estate license. So if it's a corporation, there must be a licensed managing broker living in Indiana, and they are ID'd as the responsible party. And they must be an officer of the corporation, and they must be the highest ranking officer that can bind the corporation to a decision. The corporation must also ensure that everyone who acts as a broker must be licensed. Well, duh. All parties do that. I don't want my janitor out selling real estate. All right? You must apply for a corporate license and pay the fee, separate from an individual. So that's what I'm telling you. My $60 fee for Raymond's license, I also had a $60 fee for my company license. Actually, I misspoke. It's an LLC to be exact, since we're right in this section. And it expires June 30th of the year prescribed in the commission. Once again, June 30th, every 3 years. So on the June the 30th of this year, I had to buy 2 licenses. Had to buy mine, had to buy my LLC license. Okay? Yeah. Why do I feel like there's something missing there? Wonder why I just talked about a corporation.
Is there a reason why it's June 30th?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Is there a reason why it's June 30th?
Middle of the year. Used to be December 31st, a number of years ago, and then they found out that all the workers at the state were going on vacation and they weren't processing the stuff fast enough, so they moved it to June 30th. All right. Responsibilities of a managing broker. Main and branch offices must be managed by a broker. That's what we talked about just a minute ago. I must maintain a list and evidence of all my licensees affiliated. So I've got 2 offices. I've got a list of people that belong to the moduling group in Greenwood, and I've got a list of agents that belong to the moduling group in Bloomington. I am responsible for all their activities. That's why it's an apprenticeship. You guys call me in, and if you came in here earlier, you heard me on the phone with one of my agents going through an issue that we're having. I'm the one that's responsible for you, and I took that responsibility when you brought me your form to get your license. Managing broker signs off on it. He's saying I'm responsible for you. I have to make sure that my business and my licensees all comply with the state laws.
So if you lose your license for something, does that chain affect all of us? Or?
Depends. It goes back to the corporation. If I lose my license in my particular case, yes, it would, because I am a single member LLC. If it's a corporation, all of the officers would have to lose their license. We're going to touch right on that here in just a minute. Earnest money account. As a managing broker, I must establish an earnest money account, and it must be able to be identified as earnest money, or a lot of times they call it escrow account, trust account, impound account, but it has to be identified so we all know it is. Earnest money account, everybody know what earnest money account is? It is a separate account in which I keep all other person's money that I'm responsible for. And if you guys have ever bought or sold a house, you know when the buyer puts an offer in, they give earnest money. That earnest money is typically held by the listing broker, me. So all of my agents come to me and go, hey, I got a deal pending. Here's their earnest money check. I put it in our earnest money account. You come to me with your earnest money, I put it in our earnest money account. When you go to close, I take money out of the earnest money and give it to you, and you go close the deal. Bring me back the commission check. I put the commission check into which account? The commission or general account. Not, and I repeat, watch me. I want you guys to hear it. Not the earnest money account. If I put money into my Earnest money account, that is not Earnest money. That is called commingling. Commingling. Or the other common thing that happens is somebody puts an Earnest money check into a general account by mistake. That is also called commingling. I cannot mix my money with clients' money. Now, something that's funny to me, I can commingle clients' money, but not my money with it. So I have one account that I may have 7 deals in, and that's okay. I just can't mix their money and my money. Everybody get what I'm saying? So if I put my money into the Earnest money account, that's a violation. If I put their money into my account, that's also a violation, right? There is one exception to this rule. The one exception is I can put my money into an Earnest money account for the sole purpose of maintaining the account. If, some banks have like a monthly maintenance fee, I can put my money in to maintain the account. Matter of fact, you have to, because if it doesn't, it starts eating the Earnest money, and then you run into the second crime, which is called conversion. Conversion is once I put money in like this, if I put my money in an Earnest money account or Earnest money in my account, that's commingling. Then when I write a check out of my account, that is called conversion. I have converted that person's Earnest money into my light bill. And since you can't prove which dollar's which, it automatically counts as conversion. All right? So if one of my agents brings me a $500 Earnest money check and I erroneously write the wrong bank account on it and I put it into our general account, that's commingling. Then later that day, I write the bills for my business. I got to write the rent check, I write the electric check, I write the cable check, and I write all those checks out of the general account, mail them out to, IPL, Xfinity, whoever. That is conversion because I put a client's money into my account and then I took money out of my account for my use. So typically, commingling and conversion all go together. I have to maintain accurate records. Now that's not as big a problem because we got online banking. You can just click the thing and it'll print it out for you. Once I receive the Earnest money check from you, I have 2 banking days to put it into the account. All right? As you saw the other day, I had an agent come in, hand me an Earnest money check, and I said, oh, thank you. Tomorrow's day 1, then day 2. So I've got to get that check into the bank in 2 banking days, not business days, not calendar days, but banking days. Saturday and Sunday don't count as banking days, by the way. We can decide that the Earnest money can go anywhere, theoretically. I told you the listing agent holds the Earnest money. That's about 90% true. In the purchase agreement, we could say we want the title company to hold it. That's okay. We can do that. Or an attorney to hold it. In the old days, the buyer's agent used to hold the Earnest money for HUD homes. That's not smart because the whole reason you're taking Earnest is so your buyer doesn't walk away. And if your buyer's agent's the one holding it, it would be real easy to get it back. But they used to do that. Must not commingle business and personal funds. I can earn interest, one of the most misconstrued laws in the books. I can earn interest on the Earnest money. I cannot profit from it. I have to pay it back out. All right? Tiff started giving me that weird look because I'm sure she has been told wrong by someone above her. This is one of those rules that I like to think of as like a kid's rule, because we all have kids in here, and eventually you know that there's reasons why you don't tell kids the real stuff. They just don't understand it, so eventually you say, just because I said so, right? Has anybody ever told your kid not to stick a finger in a light socket? What was the reason why you told them? Because it'll shock you? I'm sure you guys didn't say that the electricity ions will bind with your hemoglobin and thus reduce the spots for oxygen to attach and not transfer oxygen to the brain, right? Which is the real reason. You said, it'll hurt. Okay, I get that. Now I can move on. This is one of those rules. Most brokers tell their agents, can't earn interest. That's not true. You can. Just can't benefit from it. But here's the problem you get. And here's why. So Maggie brings me $500, then I put it in the bank for my Earnest money. Then Tiffany brings in $500. So now Maggie's earning half the interest running for those 3 days. Then Singh brings in $700. Now she's earning 5 out of 12 for that day. And then she takes her $500 out the next day to close. Now she's back to 5 out of 12 again. And that's 4 days. And then Jesse brings in $1,000. And okay, now she's 5 out of, screw it, no earnest, no interest. That's why they do it. Okay, everybody get what I'm saying yet? Because at some point you're going to have to figure out, well, she had 500 in the bank account for 10 days, but it was 500 out of the 2,000, so she gets 25% of the interest. Yeah, and you don't want to figure it, so you just go, it's no interest, easy to figure, all right? Because I said so. That's what they say. There was a young lady in here from Washington State getting her license, and we didn't recognize it. She had to go back through school and all that. And she said in Washington State it was mandatory that they paid interest. And they had a computer program that did all that calculation that I just told you. The bookkeeper put in what day the earnest money came out, what day the earnest money went in, and figured the math and all the interest and said, okay, you gave me $500 earnest money to hold. Here's your $500.07 back. Yeah. Okay. Number 10 says they'll take over my account if I die, which you know is not going to happen. Upon request, a brokerage has to supply to the commission all my documents and monthly bank statements and stuff like that. Number 12, we can take things other than money as earnest, as long as the seller says it's okay. We took the license to a Lincoln Navigator once and held it in our safe. And then when we closed the deal, not the title, sorry, misspoke. We took the title to a Lincoln Navigator. The guy closed the deal, closed the loan. We gave the buyer back the title to the Navigator. Number 13 is the one you guys need to remember, because this is one that's a solution to a lot of things. When a deal goes south, the earnest money can either get returned to the buyer and everybody agrees, right? It could also be kept by the seller and everybody agrees. Doesn't happen a lot, but it's possible. What's the third thing that happens? First thing is it goes to the buyer. Second thing is it goes to the seller. The third thing is it could argue over where it goes, right? And there's an old Japanese statement that says to make no decision is a decision. I love that's my favorite one. Think about it. If you make no decision on something, that is a decision. Same thing with this. If I say we're going to keep it and you say we want it back, and we just argue that whole time, what's going on? I'm keeping it. So that is a decision. So in order to keep that from happening, there's this law number 13 that says if you and I disagree as to where the earnest money goes, then I, since I'm the one holding the earnest money, will write you a certified letter that says Chavez, I am giving my client the earnest money, and I send that letter to your company. You now have 60 days to respond to that letter and tell me one of two things. I agree with you and sign the mutual release, or you file a court case to get the money back. The third thing that could happen is you just completely ignore the letter, and then on the 61st day, I do what I said I'm going to do, and we're done. So what this letter does, in essence, it forces a court lawsuit so that money doesn't sit in my Earnest account for years while we argue, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. I eventually just send you a letter and say, in 60 days, I'm keeping the money. What are you going to do? Either you file a court case and we go to small claims and let the judge tell us, or you ignore the letter, and then if you do, I keep it or do whatever I say I'm going to do.
Would it typically be in the purchase agreement what happens if this happens?
Yeah, but you always get arguments. You know, let me give you a good example. I'm in one right now, literally in one right now. Had a home inspection. Get a home inspection, says there is a fire and health and safety code in this house. Send it over to the seller, say we want this fixed. Seller says, I don't think it's the safety code, I'm not fixing it. So the buyer says, okay, I want out. The seller is now claiming, well, you're the one getting out of the deal, we're keeping the earnest money. My client's saying, no, no, it's a fire and health code that you're refusing to fix, we get our money back. So we are right now currently arguing where's the earnest money, because they don't believe the our home inspector. Yeah. So it's not as simple and cut and dry. Any questions on earnest money? And I can have as many earnest money accounts as I want, by the way, if I wanted to. I could have one for commercial deals and one for residential deals. I could have one for south side deals and north side deals. I could have one for the people I like and people I don't like.
For each broker.
I'm sorry? I could have one for each broker. If I've got an earnest money account that's earmarked for all your deals and one for all your deals and one for all your, I could. I had to involve the paperwork in opening it up and seeding the account and maintaining and all that. But I theoretically could.